Hey guys, I made a quick little demo for using variables, thinking about activity F. So I wanted to create something that was similar, but I'm not going to do the actual activity for you. I wanted you to be able to modify. So I opened activity C, I believe it was, with 3 bins. I imported that model, and I just came up with my own little program kind of idea, just something very simple, but I wanted to use a variable and a loop to make it happen. So this is basically what we have here. I've got the robot at the top with an open gripper as my position 99, and I label all of my blocks on the table as my single digit values 1, 2, 3, and then the above pick positions with a 1 in front, so 11, 12, 13. So this is kind of level 0, level 1. Alright, and so all I'm going to do is have my robot come down to the above pick position, slowly come down, close the gripper on it, pick it up, bring it back up to the above pick position, and then just let go. It'll drop back down. And then I want it to move over here to position 12 and to repeat the process. But I want the section of code that makes it come down to 1, pull back up and drop it, be the exact same lines of code that is being read when I go over here. So that means I have to use a variable. And in each iteration, it's going to have to know that the variable has been updated, and instead of the pairs of positions being 1 and 11, that the next iteration is going to be 2 and 12, and the third iteration is going to be 3 and 13. Okay, and so just setting up my program, I did have to take some time to move my robot into position. I didn't want to make you guys watch that. If you've gotten to activity F, you know how to teach and record positions for the robot, and I use these to do that. So, all right, so put a remark. I'm just using variables and loops, my name and date, and at the beginning I go ahead and initiate the program to should be at the home position, but just to make sure we're kind of at home, to an open gripper. All right, and then before I start the program, I'm really just going to set variables. So getting this to happen, the shortcut is SV for set variable. So if you type SV, it'll bring up this box, set variable. I leave it on computation, and I define the variable name. So I'm going to call a variable AB for above pick, and then I can assign it a value, and the value is going to be 11 because that's the position number I created. So basically it's storing the position number. That's what the variable is going to store for me, okay, as a position number. And that's it. So I named it, made it 11. I did the same thing for @pick. So created a variable called @pick, and I made that equal to 1 because I wanted to store position 1. So the first time I move my robot, trying to move down, I really want to move to 11, the above pick position, and then down to 1, the @pick position, right? Well, instead of using the numbers 11 and 1, I'm just going to use the variable names because they're equal to those. We'll talk about this loop in just a second, but I did put a, you type LA for label, and I just put the word loop there. Okay, so then I'm going to start the program. I say go to position. I just used fast in the joint, so I did GP. I put in my position, and it will let you type in a word, a variable name here, instead of using the position numbers. So I basically said go to the above pick position, which currently is stored as 11. I left it on joint and fast, so it gets there fast. From there, I want it to go to the @pick position, linearly slow. So if you just type GP, then you can modify this. Put linear, and then I typed the @pick. I made it go a little slower, so I did 50% speed. And then I closed the gripper, and then I come back up to the above pick position, and then I open the gripper. And so if I do that much, the robot should come down and pick it up, pull it back up, open the gripper, the block drops. Okay, now from here, I want to use these pieces of code again, but with the next block. So here's the key thing, is I take my variables and I update them now that I've done the first iteration. So another SV line, SV to define it, and I say AB pick, the above pick, is now going to be whatever it was currently stored plus 1. So AB pick becomes AB pick plus 1. So on the first iteration, it is set to 11. It runs through that first iteration of picking up, pulling up, drop, and then all of a sudden the above pick is now updated to be equal to 12 instead of 11. Similarly, the at pick position is going to be updated to become the next one. So at this point, it's going to become 2. All right, now I've got to really understand the loop. So I need the code to figure out to jump back up to here. Okay, this line, we'll come back to this line in just a second, but this line here says jump to loop. So that is I finished the iteration, and I want you to go back up to the loop line and then repeat, basically. Once it goes to there, it's going to come back down. Now, if I put the jump to loop right after that, it would just keep running and running indefinitely, and it would never have a way to kind of exit the loop. So before the jump to loop command, I need to have a condition. I need to check. Do I really want to go to that next line? That would reference me back up to line 7, back up to the loop. So I put a condition here, and I wrote the condition such that basically it's something that would be true when I'm finished with all of my iterations. Okay, the first iteration it comes through, and at this point here, the at pick and above pick would be 1 and 11, but at this point they're updated still on the first iteration to become 12, right? So at the end of the first run, these are 12. Okay, 1 and 12. On the next iteration, they become 3 and 13. And I want to run again. On the third iteration, they become 4 and 14. And so I could use either at pick or above pick, but I chose above pick. And so when I'm done, when it's done the third iteration, it's now 14. And so I wrote an inequality. I said is, kind of if the above pick is greater than 13, so 14 would be greater than 13. If it's now 14, we're ready to jump to the end. Okay, it'll jump down here. If this is false, then it will simply go to the next line. It's not going to do the command. So when it's not greater than 13, when it's not 14, okay, it's going to ignore and just go to, there's no rule or anything being told what to do, right, since that was false. So it'll just go here, it'll jump to loop and repeat. All right, so that is how I get this to work. Let me reset the cell, and I'm going to run it just a single cycle, and you'll see how it works. So 99 open gripper, it comes down, it set that variable to above pick and below pick, or at pick, brings it up, open gripper, it drops back down, and it looped back around. Okay, at this point it's at 2 and 12, updates to 3 and 13, it executes, the variables are going to update as soon as this is over to 4 and 14, 14 is greater than 13, so I jump to the end and I'm done. I didn't put in anything to make it return back to home or something. I could go back here and update. Even if the end is not necessarily the end of the program, it's just a label. So it's typing LA for label and creating that. You could give it a different name. And here I could put, like a go to position 99 fast at the end of my program if I want. Okay, so that's it. I'll let it run one more time if you're curious to see and watch. But I hope that really helps you when you get to activity F using variables.